everybody. I've been in Toronto for a while now. I'm still Albertan at heart, and I think I'm Albertan enough to understand what's going on out there. I still visit Alberta all the time. My folks are there. Let me translate for my fellow Easterner.
I wonder what is his opinion if he was about to compare Ontario to Alberta, because I went a different way. I was living in Ontario for a while, and then I moved to Alberta, and I never regretted it. The people in Alberta are just... It still has that Canadian culture comparing to Ontario. And yeah, like I'm not saying it because of the immigration, obviously, right? It kind of sounded bad. But even Alberta has a lot of immigrants, myself included, right? But it just feels like Alberta made a effort to keep that Canadian culture, as opposed to Ontario is just go, go, go. Everyone's kind of called. I would compare it to Europe, like let's say countries like Czech Republic, Germany, whatever, right? Where people are all about the work. Let's not do the small talk. If you stop me on the street, you better have a reason for that other than just being polite, just trying to talk about the weather, right? But then you compare it to Alberta, and everyone's friendly, everyone's helpful, everyone's smiling. Yeah, it's very different.
Here's what I think's happening. Remember how Eastern Canadians, Central Canadians felt when Donald Trump put tariffs on the prestige industries in Quebec and Ontario in a manner that seemed unfair and irrational and just out of the blue? And rational or not, it hurt the Ontario economy and cost jobs.
Yes, it did, for sure. Windsor definitely suffering. We have layoffs in the automobile industry, right? But if you think about it, is it the biggest issue Canada is facing? And why did it come to that? Like, was there something else our previous government, and actually even the government right now, right, could have done in those last 10 years that they've been in power? Definitely, they could have tried to prevent it. They could have trade deals somewhere else. And even if you can't expect the tariffs, like it's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Maybe not for this industry, but they if they were in a better position, they could have protect these workers that were laid off, like subsidy they pay, because it's not the fault of the workers. Like it's not even fault of the company who hires them, right? Like in this case, it's literally between two nations. It's nothing personal, and I'm not gonna say if the tariffs were justified or no. Like again, President Trump is doing what's best for US, right? For the states. And we just need someone who's going to do the same thing for Canada. We were hoping it's going to be Pierre Poilievre. Unfortunately, he didn't get elected. So let's see if it's going to be Mark Carney. But after what we saw from the meeting with Donald Trump and Mark Carney, I'm not sure that it's that Mark Carney is going to be that person who's going to prioritize Canadian citizens and residents and everything like that, right? So, yeah.
And how do people in Ontario and Quebec feel knowing that Trump is still vowing to move Canada's car and steel industries to the U.S.? He said that when Mark Carney was right there.
Well, we'll be talking about different things. Like, we want to protect our automobile business, and so does Mark. But we want to make the automobiles, and we want to, we have a tremendous abundance of energy, more than any country. We have, just in Alaska alone, ANWR's been reopened now. ANWR's probably the largest find anywhere in the world. They say it's larger than Saudi Arabia. I don't know, but it's a lot. But we have...
Okay, I might be a little bit uneducated on that, but isn't Canada between Alaska and US? Like, doesn't all of that energy have to go through Canada? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like there might be something Canada should be able to do about that, right? You want to tariff us? Okay, let's tariff your transportation of energy from Alaska to US. I don't know. Again, you might be uneducated on that. Maybe it doesn't go through Canada, but
tremendous amounts of energy. Other countries don't. We're both lucky in that way. They have energy. We have more than we can ever use and more than we could ever sell, actually, and you have the same thing. So we're two countries that are very lucky. If you look at China, they don't have that. It's a big disadvantage. Other countries, most countries don't have. Most countries don't have that. So Canada and us, we have a lot of advantages over other places.
I'd like Ontarians and Quebecers to remember how they felt that their own political autonomy and sovereignty was being challenged and insulted by Trump's proposal to become a 51st state, that it felt like an indecent proposal, if you remember that old movie. And even if it was just an empty taunt, it showed disrespect, like if a stranger made a marriage proposal to someone who was already married. Well, Alberta has been doing all of that exact same thing. Ontario's been doing that, Ottawa's been doing that to Alberta for generations.
Yep.
And it's been rewarded election after election by voters in Ontario and Quebec. If you rob Peter to pay Paul, you can count on the support of Paul. Now, Donald Trump has an excuse. His job is America first. Nothing else matters to him.
Exactly.
What's Mark Carney's excuse? What's Justin Trudeau's excuse before him?
Well, Mark Carney has 3 passports, right? How do we know where his loyalty is? He refused to disclose his assets prior to election, while all other leaders or candidates did it. So we don't really know where his loyalty is. And again, don't get me wrong. It's hard for me to say this, but I'm surprised what Mark Carney is doing so far, that it's not the crazy liberal stuff that we were expecting. Like the carbon tax is still not back, right? But then again, I still think that he's just trying to calm the situation in Canada, whether it is Alberta or Sask or whatever, right? Just try to kind of calm us down, and then in 6 to 12 months, he's going to bring all of these crazy ideas. And yeah, so we'll see about that.
What's Canada's excuse, frankly? Trump imposed tariffs on Canada, typically 10% or 25%. Ottawa blocked Alberta and Saskatchewan pipelines altogether, banned tankers altogether, requires a gender analysis on new industrial projects, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
They're talking about a production cap on the oil sands. They've threatened to transition the industry. That means shut it down.
And it's ridiculous because pretty much most of the Canada lives off Alberta, Sask, BC, and everything the Liberals blocked, right? Like, we don't really have anything else. We're not number 1, or I don't even think number 5 in like technological advancements. Like, all we have right now is energies, like oil, gas, coal, all of it. So why are we blocking that? And thinking about all of this net zero BS, again, our regulations are pretty good. We're not one of the biggest polluters. And how do you want to build a net zero infrastructure? And the more I think about it, and the thing that crossed my mind watching the meeting with Mark Carney and President Trump, when President Trump is like, oh, we have so much energy, we can never use it. So I really hope that Mark Carney is not going to decide, okay, we're going to shut down all of these oil fields, coal mines and everything, and we're going to buy the energy from US. Just so Canada's kind of like in statistics as a net zero, even though we're buying the fossil fuel energy from somewhere else, right? But it's not happening inside of the Canada, so kind of like fake net zero, right? But the thing is, again, like all Canada has to offer right now is pretty much energy field, like the oil and gas, coal, all of that. So if you take that away, where are you going to make money? How is Canadian economy going to survive? Because like even now we're suffering when we shouldn't. Like we have so much natural heritage, so much stuff we can use for energy. Why? Why is Canadian economy so bad? And well, there's an easy answer to that, right? Bill C-69, who Who pushed it through? Well, liberals. How long have been liberals in power? For 10 years now. So like it's not really hard to connect the dots, but somehow people didn't connect the dots and voted them again in. So again, this is my usual prompt. If you are a liberal voter, tell me in the comments why you voted for them. What they did, they persuaded you. And I don't want to hear, because they're going to fight President Trump. Obviously, that's not a valid argument anymore. Tell me what they did in those past 10 years that made you vote for them again. I'm really curious. Like, no ill feeling, no bad will. I really want to know why. Maybe I missed something, right? So, again, write me a comment if you voted for liberals and tell me why.
That's like a 100% tariff. It's an outright veto. Stopping a pipeline is worse than a tariff. Alberta and Saskatchewan voted for a grand total of 3 Liberal MPs out of all those districts in the last election. But Alberta and Saskatchewan, they are not the deciders in Canada, are they? They're just the people who keep paying the bills for the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Equalization and all that.
Yeah.
You're about to see something very interesting, though. In the last Quebec referendum, the entire Canadian establishment sent a message to Quebec. We love you. Please come back. Don't leave. We'll work it out within Canada. Quebec received countless political, economic, and constitutional favors, plus a lot of good old-fashioned cash. You might even say that Quebec separatism has been a bit of a sham. For decades, it's just a good cop, bad cop routine.
Well, it's a scam for sure. If Quebec separates, how are they going to survive? Like, again, Alberta's paying crazy amount of money for Quebec in those welfare payments. Like, what do you expect is going to happen? And just think about it. If Alberta, somehow, if it works out and they will separate and refuse to sign the New Deal or just negotiate with Canada, what is Canada going to do? And let's not forget, if it happens with Alberta, Sask is going to follow. Eventually, maybe even BC, right? Like, the Canada's just going to be screwed. Like, out of nowhere, you're going to have all the earners out and all the mooches, leeches, whatever you want to call these provinces. I mean, that sounds bad. It's not the province's fault. It's just, I would say, federal government or whatever. But like, these provinces just take money out of Alberta, BC, Sask, right? What are they going to do if they won't be able to do it anymore? Like, it's going to be so bad for them. So you need to take this seriously. And yeah, like, you heard Mark Carney, it's not going to happen. Really? Well, you need to do something for it not to happen. You need to come up with the plan. And so far, I didn't hear about the plan, how to prevent Alberta from leaving. And it's not about preventing, but how to start treating them the way they deserve.
Of fleecing Alberta. It's not really serious. I don't think they actually want to go. It's a permanent revolution. It's sort of theatrical. I mean, what's more revealing than the fact that Bloc Québécois MPs collect their parliamentary pensions? That's how long they've been around. But watch for the opposite response to Alberta separatism. There is a genuine hatred against Alberta in parts of Ontario and Quebec towards Alberta and what I call Albertaness, being Alberta-ish. The only Albertans respected by the CBC or Mark Carney are the underminers, like Naheed Nenshi and Rachel Notley, people who promised to destroy the Alberta oil and gas industry and the Alberta freedom spirit from the
Ridiculous.
inside. Albertans who are Alberta-ish, they're shunned, they're demonized, they're mocked, they're attacked. Look at how the CBC has tried to destroy Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta. She was the only female Premier in the entire country for years, actually. Normally, that would make her a CBC favorite on DEI grounds alone, but she's the wrong kind of woman. She's too Albertan, so they hate her and they lie about her daily. But buckle up now. Every national media company, every national corporation, every bank, every NGO, every community activist will now be deployed to denigrate and smear Albertans who are just tired of Ottawa's war on the West. Again, if you're from Toronto or Montreal and need help imagining things, picture Trump-style taxes, tariffs, and other economic warfare. But for 40 years, I mean, going back before the National Energy Program in the 1980s even, all from your own country, not a foreign leader. Albertans aren't even angry anymore, I don't think. I think they're just sort of done. A friendly tip to my friends in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, if you're a politician or a pundit using the same language you used with the trucker convoy, you're racist, you're a fringe minority with unacceptable views, you're a crackpot, you're MAGA, you're January 6th. If you're saying things like that, think about it. You're not actually trying to persuade anyone, are you? You're demonstrating that you hate Alberta, or at least the Albertaness of it. It's an interesting Venn diagram, I think. The people who called for a Team Canada approach and who promised to end internal trade barriers as a response to Trump, they're the same ones denigrating Albertans who are asking for an end to Ottawa's sanctions. And what is a pipeline ban other than a non-tariff barrier? The Canadian establishment demonized Donald Trump as a bully, an economic illiterate, and an unreliable friend and ally.
Well, yeah, it's funny. Like, to me, it's still, I'm sorry, but it still comes from liberals, right? And Mark Carney has connections to Democrats. Like, I know conservatives were against, I wouldn't say against Donald Trump, but against tariffs, which kind of makes sense, right? The tariffs are hurting Canada, even though it's not the biggest issue that Canada's facing right now. But then if you, pardon, if you think about it from other point of view, if you think about it from American point of view, like President Trump is doing what's best for his own people, and that's really his own responsibility. And it's ridiculous that liberals are not able to understand it. And I know why. Because for 10 years, we didn't have anyone like that. Like, they never experienced someone fighting for them. All they experienced was pretty much someone fighting against them, unless you're part of some identity group, right? Which is ridiculous, because if you're not part of identity groups, somehow you're discriminated on pretty much everywhere you can. And somehow, again, people voted liberals because they thought they're gonna fight off Donald Trump. And again, we saw what happened on that meeting. It looked everything but fighting. Don't get me wrong, it was a smart approach by Mark Carney, but at the same time, he betrayed all the people who voted for him, right? But anyway, what I wanted to say, I don't agree with demonizing Donald Trump, because again, he's doing what's best for his own country. He has no responsibility towards Canadians. Is it good for Canadians? No, but we should have a government who's going to prevent it, who is not going to, like, it shouldn't be our, like, last nail in the coffin. Why? Like, the economy should have been strong prior to tariffs, but it wasn't. And whose fault is that? Definitely not Donald Trump's. So what are we talking about?
But they, the Ontario, Quebec establishment, the Ottawa establishment, they are all of those things and worse towards Albertans. Yeah. At least Trump kept telling Canada he cherished us as he shook us down. Carney, Trudeau, Guilbeault, they genuinely hate Alberta, and it shows.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's ridiculous when you hear the narrative about Danielle Smith being a traitor to Canada. Like, really? Did you hear any of her interviews? Like, yes, she's proud Albertan. Yes, her responsibility is Alberta, because she's premier of Alberta, right? So she's trying to take care of her own people. But if you heard the interviews, yes, there was a law that makes it easier for Albertans to ask for a referendum if we want to secede or no. But at the same time, Danielle Smith is doing whatever she can to persuade Albertans to stay within Canada. And let's be honest, Albertans don't want to leave Canada, but they want to be treated better. Like, we are a rich province and we have nothing to show for that, because we're sending these welfare payments to Quebec, Ontario, everywhere, all over the country, right? And then all we get in return is Bill C-69, that we cannot build more pipelines, nothing. We cannot make more money. And eventually we get another bills like, I don't remember the number, right? But trying to push us to be net zero by, originally it was, I think, 2035. Like, how? The Alberta's built on oil, and you're telling us you have 10 years to build the clean energy infrastructure, but we're not going to give you any money. You're going to keep giving us all your money, pretty much, and you can't make more money. How ridiculous it is. Like, Albertans are proud Canadians, but it's abusive relationship. Like, you're not going to stay in abusive relationship. Like, sooner or later, you're going to leave, right? And that's where Alberta is right now. Like, if you don't start treating Alberta better, they're going to leave. They might be proud Canadians. They might want to stay within Canada. But what's more important? Having Canadian passport or survive? I don't know. Make your own opinion. But yeah, like, Canadian elites should definitely care more about Alberta. Like I mentioned it before, they think about Alberta like a cow. You're gonna milk it. But the thing is, all of the farmers know it, and doesn't matter my opinion about animals and stuff like this. Well, but if one cow dies, you're gonna have another one, right? And you're gonna milk another one. But you don't have that opportunity with Alberta. Like, it's, once Alberta's done, I'm sorry, but the Canada's gonna go downhill, and it's gonna show such an example that it's not gonna be just like, if Alberta manages to leave Canada, do you really think it's gonna be the only province who's gonna try to have a better life? And it doesn't matter if Alberta becomes independent or if they join US, right? Like, it's either way, it's gonna be bad for Canada. So. And going back to Danielle Smith, like, she's still trying to negotiate with Ottawa, with Carney, with everyone. Just like, give us better deals. Start us treating the way we deserve. Like, we're pretty much financing most of the stuff that's going on in Canada, and you're treating us like, it's horrible, man. No, like, something needs to change, otherwise it's gonna be even worse than people expect.